morning. Welcome to Village in Motion. Today is Wednesday, October 24th, 2018. My name is Susan Gerhard, and today is the day of our annual visit with Kathleen Henry, our guru of all things election here at Green Spring.
All right.
Welcome.
Well, thank you very much.
And our election is coming up when?
It is, and I'm sure I don't have to remind most of our residents that it is November 6th, and we will be voting as usual from 6 a.m. to 7 p.m. in the Hunters Crossing Conference Center.
And we always have people waiting at 6 a.m.
We do. I've stopped being surprised. We open the door and there they are.
Do they think that it's going to be crowded later on?
That might be one of it's usually the energetic early walker type people.
Well, that's great.
We love them. There they are.
Are there some people who always want to say that they're first in line?
We haven't had that.
I've always been curious, but not curious enough to get up and go and look.
Oh my, no, they're there. I haven't seen any kindergarten behavior.
Okay.
No cuts in line or anything like that.
Okay, that's good. That's good.
Yeah.
So tell us what we should know.
Okay, we should know a lot of things. Interest is high because there's a possibility of one or both of the houses of Congress changing majorities, and of course that's huge. And speaking of huge, everybody, including Fairfax County, is expecting a huge turnout. Now, huge for us is what we always get.
Right.
So we may have a few more people than we usually have, but it will not be a problem. We're fully staffed. We are experienced, and we will be able to handle anything that comes.
What is the busiest time of the day, Kathleen?
People always ask me that, Susan, and I wish I could give a definitive answer. But you know, people come when they want to come. The slowest time is after dinner. People seem to vote first and eat later.
Okay.
You know, if you are in line by 7 o'clock, you have to be allowed to vote. In my 15 years here at Green Spring, we have never had that problem.
Okay.
So, okay. Don't forget your photo ID. We do have some people who forget.
And what will work for photo ID? What are my choices?
Your first choice, if you have it, is a current Virginia driver's license. Our new poll pads for checking people in have a little tray in the back, and you can deposit that driver's license, and then the election officer, using no hands at all practically, all the information just pops right up from the barcode on your thing. The other thing would be a passport, also not expired for more than a year. Then a military ID, even a government employee ID. We don't have too many.
Also not expired.
Not expired, right? And then, of course, the voter card that people specifically have for the purposes of voting and nothing else. We had those people come, and they've been wonderful about it. They come before every election, and they even came before the primary this time.
Good.
Oh, they love Green Spring. Anyway, that's that particular photo ID doesn't work for anything but voting. So there are only 2 offices on the ballot. Senate and House of Representatives for the 11th district. We are in the 11th district. Some people have asked me about candidates who are in the 10th district because they're having a big to-do.
We see all these advertisements on TV and we think, is that person ours?
Yes,
should I pay attention?
Right. And if it doesn't say 11 on it, it is not for us. So we can't vote for anybody in the 10th. Okay. The ballot is relatively long because in addition to just the 2 candidates, there are 2 Virginia constitutional amendments. Now, they aren't the big controversial same-sex marriage kind of amendments that we have seen in the past. These have to do with finances. And they, question 1 and question 2. Question 1 is a tax break for surviving spouses of first responders and military people. Question 2 a tax break for people who have tried to make their property flood-proof, but the water has done damage.
And we received something in the mail, I believe, about these.
Yes.
It's important to read the specifics of these and exactly what this means.
Yes, it would be wonderful to have that done and conclusions come to before you come down to us. And in addition to that, we have a Fairfax County bond issue, which is for public safety, the jails and
the jails and the fire and rescue
and the
police department and the courts and adult detention center.
Exactly.
The money is divided up among those.
Right.
So that's a pretty important one.
It is indeed, and it tells you on the ballot and in a few other places how it is divided.
Right.
Yes.
And all of these are also listed briefly in the current edition of the Villager.
I'm glad you mentioned that. Yes, I wrote that article, and
you did a good job.
Carolyn published it in plenty of time for people to read that.
Right.
Yes, and we will be using the paper ballot.
Okay.
As usual.
That's always easy.
Right. And I wanted to mention one other thing, that with all those things on the ballot, people do not have to vote on every single one.
Okay.
To have what they do vote on counted.
So let's say I'm not sure about one of those statewide taxation things. If I just don't know what I want to do, I can leave that blank and vote for the ones that I do understand.
Absolutely, and the ones that you have voted on will count full credit.
Good.
Yes. Okay, now with the paper ballot and the OptiScan, so we will know the results for our precinct, 426 Green Spring, by the end of the day. And this is a new service I am happy to offer.
What's that?
Well, through the benefit of Joanne Madison. She called and asked me if I would send her the results so she could post it on the Village Bridge.
Excellent.
We have not done that before.
That's good.
So as soon as I get back up to my apartment, I've got the whole thing set up on my computer. I'll just insert the numbers and shoot them off to Joanne. And people in our precinct will know what's going on in their particular.
So normally you've been posting them, I think, on some doors.
We do. Now we are required to post them on the front of the building where the election is held, which in this case would be Hunters Crossing. But I had a number of calls, and people said, I can't get over to Hunters Crossing, et cetera, et cetera. Well, rather than recite the whole litany, I just decided that Ann Daniels and I would put them on the front windows of all the town centers.
Clubhouses.
All the clubhouses,
that's
right.
Good.
Yeah. So,
and do they also go on Garden Ridge, or just?
We have done them on Garden Ridge because we were specifically asked to do that.
Okay.
So,
but this year they'll go on the Village Bridge.
Yes, they will, and fast too. I'm sure. If I'm fast, I'm sure Joanne
will have them there quickly.
She will indeed.
Okay.
Now, as in this election, as in all general elections, there are 3 ways to vote. The first way is in person down in the Hunters Crossing Conference Center, 6 a.m. to 7 p.m. on election day.
Now, for those who haven't voted in our precinct before,
yes,
you can take either the elevator down to the lower level of Hunters Crossing, or go down the stairs, go into the large room and vote, and then when I'm finished voting, I should go out the back.
Okay, we do have that option, and that is like maybe 3 years old. We take the freight elevator from the staff for that day. People who can walk up and down stairs are not in any way affected.
Okay.
But people who use a mobility device will indeed come down on the lobby elevator. And then, as you say, they do their voting, and then they go back around to a place where they ordinarily wouldn't go.
Will there be someone there to show me how to get out that back?
Absolutely.
Because if you haven't done that before, it's a little hard to find.
Oh, where are we? Yes. We'll have signs, and Dwayne tells me we're even going to have a few volunteers to lead the way. And then you get on the elevator there, and it takes you to the door right behind, between the Jefferson and the board, the board there. So you're not too too far off. And that does help a great deal, because when everybody was using the same elevator, it was a slow
difficult.
go. Yes. Okay. The second way is absentee by mail. Now, it is too late to change your registration address, but it is not too late to get an absentee ballot application. I can
So
provide
if you're
that
registered
for
here
you.
at Green Spring, you can still vote by mail.
Yes.
And how do you do that?
You can either go online, it is vote.virginia.gov, or if you're not comfortable with going online, you can use the old-fashioned way, which is call me, and I put it in your cubby.
Okay.
And you will want to fill it out and send it off relatively quickly, because they have to receive it at the Electoral Board by the 30th of this month. Now, absentee by mail is a relatively complicated process. It has a lot of steps, and there can easily be some slips between cup and lip, as it were. You get the application, you send it in. Once they have received it, they count it as being already voted. So don't lose it. And, well, I didn't actually write it. No. You are counted as.
Make sure you follow through.
Make sure you follow through. You are counted as voted when they send it to you. So when you get it, you need to vote it, and then on the envelope you need your own signature and a witness. Anyone can be a witness. That's
You
not
can pull
hard to get
somebody in from the hall.
Exactly. And if you're a husband and wife team, there you go.
Okay.
And then you send
Are
it
those?
in.
I've heard people say, well, they don't actually count those absentee ballots unless it gets real close at the end. Is that the case?
Oh, Susan, I hate to hear that story, because Virginia is one of the states that consider an absentee ballot just as important as a ballot voted in person.
That's good to know.
Yes, they save them when they come in. They stack them by precinct. And then, and not until 7 o'clock, same time that the polls close, they have teams of people in the electoral office. It's called CAP, Central Absentee Precinct. I've worked there. And they bring out all those envelopes, and they have teams, and one person brings them in, and another person slices the envelope, and another person feeds the ballot into the machine. And there are many, many, many teams.
Sounds like quite an operation.
We keep it up until we're done. We can't go until we're done, because, well, for a lot of reasons, but one of the reasons is the next morning you will be able to check online what each precinct in the county has done. The name of the precinct, how many people voted in person, and how many people voted absentee, to give you the total, and then there it is, the percentage of the participating voters.
So we still have that option.
We still have that option.
And we have 1 minute, they're telling
Oh
us.
my word,
So
I've got to talk
whatever else
faster.
you have to say,
Okay,
say it quickly.
The third option is to vote absentee in person.
Okay.
The satellites are open. They open on October 13th, but please remember they are only open from 3 o'clock until 7. Don't go in the day. They are in the governmental centers of each of the sections. The closest ones to us, West Springfield and Franconia.
So if you're not going to be able to vote that day, you can go and vote in person.
Right. You do
before
need
then.
photo ID there. You
Okay.
do not need photo ID for a mail-in ballot.
Okay.
Okay, so
We will look forward to seeing you on the 6th.
Yeah, we'll
You
be.
and your wonderful team of, I won't say volunteers, but all of the election officials that do work that day from 6 in the morning, or before 6, I'm
At
sure.
5, we have to report at
5
5
in the morning till well into the
until
evening.
all the bookkeeping's done.
Well, thank you so much for your service.
Well, I appreciate
It's
that.
terrific,
Thank
and
you.
we'll look forward to seeing you that day. And thank you for joining us this morning to educate us.
Thank you.
And we'll be back.